Para a palestra Microsseguros e Seguros Populares, como ampliar as fronteiras da proteção securitária do Brasil, convidamos o palestrante senhor Hennie do CENFRE, Center for Financial Regulation and Inclusion. Para coordenar a mesa, convidamos o senhor Marco Antônio Rossi, do Bradesco Seguros S.A. Convidamos também o senhor Murilo Chaim, coordenador-geral de Seguros e Previdência Complementar da Secretaria de Política Econômica do Ministério da Fazenda. E também o senhor Pedro Cláudio de Medeiros Bocaiúva Bulcão, da Sinaf Previdencial, Companhia de Seguros. Hennie tem mestrado em Direito pela Universidade de Cambridge e é especialista em políticas estratégicas de regulação e inclusão financeira. Atualmente, ele é consultor associado ao CENFRE, baseado em Cape Town, na África do Sul. É também consultor do governo sul-africano na elaboração da nova legislação de microseguros e é consultor da Insurance Regulatory Commission, na China, nos projetos pilotos de microseguros. Marco Antônio Rossi, graduado em Marketing, é diretor-presidente do Grupo Bradesco de Seguros e Previdência e presidente da Federação Nacional de Previdência Privada e Vida, FENAPREV. Murilo Matos Chaim é economista pela Universidade de Brasília, com mestrado pela Fundação Getúlio Vargas e especialização em finanças pela Universidade de Minnesota. Atualmente é coordenador-geral de Seguros e Previdência Complementar da Secretaria de Política Econômica do Ministério da Fazenda. E até março deste ano foi diretor de autorizações da Superintendência de Seguros Privados, SUSEP. Pedro Bulcão é diretor do grupo Sinaf, que vem atuando de forma pioneira no desenvolvimento de seguros populares no Brasil. Ele é membro do Conselho Diretor da CNSEG e diretor da FENAPREV. Os senhores estão com a palavra.
Bom, boa tarde a todos. É um prazer enorme estar aqui com todos os senhores e senhoras nessa tarde, final de tarde aqui em Brasília, e agradecer muito a presença de todos para poder participar, para que possamos participar desse debate de um tema que realmente tem ocupado um espaço excepcional na mídia, na sociedade brasileira, que é o assunto ligado a microseguros e seguros populares. Acho que dificilmente nós encontraremos algo que tenha chamado tanta atenção da sociedade brasileira, da imprensa especial e até do governo, aqui representado pelo Murilo, quanto o seguro popular e o microseguros, que realmente nós, como um todo, enxergamos como uma oportunidade e também um desafio, tanto de inclusão, de tudo aquilo que foi mostrado hoje na parte da manhã, através dessa mudança que nós estamos tendo na sociedade brasileira, mas principalmente um desafio enquanto governo de encararmos essas oportunidades, um desafio enquanto seguradores de criarmos produtos que possam atingir a esse grupo de pessoas, como também aos corretores que estão aqui presentes, né, representados pelos seus líderes, no que diz respeito a encontrar maneiras onde a gente possa estar tendo a oportunidade de discutir esses temas. E nós vamos aqui começar com o nosso palestrante, o Hennie, que, na verdade, fez um trabalho diferenciado aqui para a CNSEG, um contrato que nós trouxemos aqui para dar uma contribuição do mercado segurador para a sociedade e para o debate também na discussão daquilo que nós enxergamos de boas experiências, naquilo que foi realizado em outros países, em especial na África do Sul, que é uma referência positiva nesse setor, onde foi o foco de atuação do nosso palestrante, e se criou um material para que se possa ser trabalhado junto com o governo para enxergarmos essas oportunidades e também para que possamos visualizar quais são os desafios do setor. Mas eu tenho certeza que vocês não vieram aqui para me escutar. Na verdade, é o nosso palestrante, então eu gostaria aqui de convidar para que pudesse aqui usar a palavra aqui com relação aos temas que serão abordados.
Mr. Rossi, ladies and gentlemen, you are very committed to insurance to still be here at 6 o'clock on a Wednesday evening. So it is a real pleasure to be with you in Brasilia, and it's a real pleasure to be in Brazil. It is interesting to note that of all the countries that I've had the privilege to work in on insurance, and particularly microinsurance and access to insurance, the only country where that work has been sponsored by the industry as opposed to the government or a donor is Brazil. So I really want to salute your industry for this work, and thank you very much for that. It's been fascinating to hear the debate today and the extent of the almost existential contest going on in your country on many issues. But one of the things that I am taking away with me is an overwhelming sense of a window of opportunity that you are entering. And that really is what I want to focus on today. And that is the opportunity to work with Fun and Sec, CNSEC, and your industry to come up with an industry contribution to policy in this area. And we had an interesting discussion this morning from Casio dos Santos about whether wanting is doing. Well, it's been my task to focus more on the doing side and really to answer these questions. What can popular insurance, access to insurance, contribute to Brazil? Who is your target market? What are the big obstacles to get there? And how can regulation help? And I would really appreciate it if you would look at this subject not as the optional extra that you order with the steak. This is not the mushrooms on the side. This may very well be the steak itself. And I want to start with a comment made in this city last week by your president, President Dilma Rousseff, when she launched the Brasil Sem Miseria project, when she said, social inclusion makes our growth sustainable. And the question I want to go beyond that is, how does social inclusion become sustainable? How did our parents safeguard their position in the middle class? And in all countries, essentially, they used a combination of three things. They saved and built assets, they educated their children, and they used insurance to safeguard. So if we look at these, and we look at the gains of Bolsa Familia over the past decade, together with the employment that has come, 28 million people out of poverty, 36 joining the middle class. I mean, my country, South Africa, my president would kill to be able to give you these figures. But we've not been successful at it. You have been. But the question now is the answer only to spend more from the side of the state? Because you've got some serious problems on the other side, as we've heard today. You've got fiscal constraints. You've got an education system, as the economist said before lunch, which is 57th out of the 65 tested in the PISA. It's improving, but it's still far from what it should be. And you've got very low savings rates. And within this environment, I would suggest to you that insurance is probably the single biggest tool available to protect the gains of social inclusion. But more so from the state's perspective. If people, and we will look at some of these facts a little later, if the people who have come into classes D and C are not going to be stabilized in those classes, they're going to become the responsibility of the state again. And therefore, there is a potential huge fiscal benefit for the state in terms of taking this further. So these benefits can come very strongly from insurance. At the same time, we discussed investment earlier today. We spoke a lot about the fact that Brazil is growing a lot, not as much as all the economists would like, but that your domestic savings and investment is too low. And from the country who had the privilege of hosting the World Cup last year, I can guarantee you it takes a lot of investment. I live in a small town on a sheep farm with about 5,000 people. We had hundreds of people living in my town for 2 years to reconstruct the national roads past that town. Our airports are fantastic. Our roads in Johannesburg and Cape Town are fantastic. It takes a lot of investment, but you cannot rely on that simply for foreign direct investment because it puts pressure on your exchange rate. So insurance market growth is probably the biggest source of sourcing that investment resources domestically. So my suggestion to you and my recommendation to you is that increasing access to private insurance should be a national priority for this country. My country, insurance premiums on an annual basis constitutes 14% of gross domestic product. It's one of the highest in the world. Brazil has got a lot to catch up there, which will benefit this country enormously. So this gathering is not accidental that it's in Brasilia, because it's here where those decisions are going to be taken in the next few years. And if you listen to the debate today, as somebody coming from outside Brazil, one cannot but be excited about the possibilities, but also about the big steps that still need to be taken. Now, one of the key messages that I think is really important, and we pick it up in a number of countries, is that the objective from a public policy point of view is not only to deal with the poorest of the poor, because the market often cannot serve them, but indeed it's all of those people without insurance that should be your target market. And if we look at the figures, there's about 30 to 37% of adults that currently have insurance in Brazil. It's probably slightly more from these figures. And of that, 23 to 33 million, we haven't got an exact figure, are below 3 minimum salaries. So that if you really look at that, C, D, and E as your potential micro-insurance market, it's this space we're talking about. And you're really looking about somewhere between 40 and probably 100 million people who currently do not have the products that they should be having. And that is your target market. Just to look there for micro-insurance is really doing your country a disservice. You've got to look a lot wider than that. And we'll come to that a little bit later again. Now, what are the big obstacles that you face as an industry to serve this market? And here I want to really take Stephen Levitt's approach and say, well, part of my job is being a merchant of ideas. And let's just step back and say, how do we deal with these issues? And I would suggest to you, that there really are 4 issues you've got to deal with. They're not all obstacles, some of them are risks. Firstly, you've got long, expensive distribution channels. We look at that just now. You've got high compliance costs. You've got low claims ratios. It's a risk, and I'll point you out now why it really is. And your anchor risk is provided mostly by people who are not formal insurers. And we'll come to that concept now. You've got to deal with these issues in one way or another. Now, we looked at the different distribution models which are being used in Brazil. And let me just say, Brazil, in terms of its industry, is probably the most vibrant private insurance industry in the world today that's going down market. I mean, there's a dynamism here that's really and truly exciting. And despite the obstacles, you're finding ways to do that. And this is just your retailer channel here, where you have the insurer, there's a broker, you've got the retailer, you've got the sales force there. The point being, though, that it's a very long channel. And it's caused primarily by 2 things. The first one is the nature of your labor regime in Brazil. And that labor regime requires the insurer to be, as far as possible, from the one who is selling the insurance, lest the courts would construe a labor relationship that would make that an employee responsibility for you. So you've got a long channel there. And you've got a strong broker regime, which is both an asset for the country, but potentially also something that lengthens your channel. Now, if you look, and what we've done here is simply looking at some very typical insurance lines where lower income insurance are written. And if that's the direct premium, the claims ratio, and the selling expenses, what you find, really from the beginning of the previous decade, tremendous increase in premiums everywhere, which is a testimony to how vibrant your industry is. You're really getting out there, you're making it. With the exception for group life, your claims ratios, that one is staying more or less the same. The claims ratios are dropping at the same time while the expenses are increasing. Now, expenses are increasing for the reasons I've given. Distribution costs are expensive. You know that. Getting access to these channels tend to be quite an expensive exercise. But at the same time, it leads to low claims ratios. And the problem with low claims ratios is not an obstacle to you. You like low claims ratios, generally speaking. But it's a risk as far as your consumers are concerned in the long run. And therefore, it's important for you to deal with this in one way or another. So, reducing costs, distribution costs, and compliance costs becomes a very important part of the solution in the long run. Now, one of the wonderful things about Latin America, which you don't only have in Brazil, you have it in most of your neighboring countries as well, is that assistance business is not considered insurance. In other words, it doesn't fall under the regulatory authority, and it doesn't have to comply with the broker regime. So your distribution channel for funeral homes is breathtakingly short. There's effectively the insurer and there's the client. Now, why this is really problematic for your industry is that human beings always progress from that which they know to that which they don't know. And in every country where we're looking at the growth of insurance industries into markets where they have not yet colonized, they always grow from what we would call an anchor risk. Now, an anchor risk is like an anchor tenant in a shopping mall. It's the one which pulls the customers. And funeral insurance tends to be the anchor risk in just about every country we're looking at. Because for poor people, It's an unavoidable expense. And it's the first thing they want to get for insurance. So to effectively deal with this, we have to find a way in your market to bring this risk closer to registered insurers. What do your clients think then from this perspective? Because that's also important. We did focus groups in Rio, in Sao Paulo, and in Fortaleza, and it's very interesting. The lowest income clients don't all just have one income. They have multiple sources of income. Brazilians are entrepreneurial. But they are not saving, they are spending. When I was in China, where we're doing similar work 3 weeks ago, the lament from every economist is the Chinese aren't spending. They're only saving. The lament I've heard all of today is the Brazilians are only spending. They are not saving. And that is a major difficulty, and we've given a quote to you there. When there is a salary increase, there's an increase in debt. It is easier to buy things, everyone has a credit card. These are people in sort of lower C and D income categories. Very interesting thing about this income group that have come up, they are very opinionated, they are brand conscious, they know technology. The Bradesco research that we've been given access to shows that 80% of C and D adults are on social networking. This is an unbelievable statistic. And what it says in terms of new ideas of how you've got to market insurance is staggering. It means 80% of these people are linked to a laptop or a computer probably once a day, if not once a week. All right. So this is unbelievable. They want benefits in life. Brazilians don't want to talk about death. They like carnival. They don't like coffins. So if you want to sell insurance and you're going to tell them the benefit will come after they die, your chances of success are zero. So you've got to give them something that they will get now and not tomorrow. That is why they like the lottery. SUSEP doesn't like the lottery very much because there are abuses. But if you strip out the savings component, this is an important part of extending access to insurance in Brazil. They don't like insurers very much. Insurers don't know how to speak to the public. They don't provide clear messages. They don't explain exactly how insurance works. All right? So you get that. They value funeral insurance very, very much, particularly if you take care of everything for them. So given this environment, what should be the objectives of the regulator when we look at, and part of our job is to develop a comprehensive regulatory proposal on behalf of you, the industry. Firstly, promote access to insurance rather than just micro-insurance, because that is the public policy objective for you as a nation. Open up your distribution channels. Where insurance is working, it is because the industry is agnostic about how they distribute. In China now, they've got micro-insurance pilot projects. They call them pilot projects. We evaluate them. They've reached 120 million people. And the interesting thing about the Chinese government is they say, we want the industry to do as much as they can so that we do as little as we have to. All right, so it's a completely different approach. You've got to take that. I've got to go back there. Enable low-cost direct sales. Poor people are no different than rich people. They don't really understand insurance. So you've got to sell it to them. Reduce your compliant cost, particularly for people who are only going to work in this market, including lower solvency requirements. And extend consumer protection. It's better for you to do it than to be forced to do it. Now, I want to just illustrate to you how access to insurance works. This is something we call the access curve. And on the one side there, you have people with insurance, the percentage of the total population, and here you have time. So we start with people who have insurance now. Then we go to people that the market can reach without technology changes or regulatory changes. You're only not there because you haven't paid attention to them. Profit-driven enterprises don't jump over profitable clients to less profitable clients. They extend to the next most profitable market segment, which is what they will do here. Then you've got a segment which the market can reach in the future if you change either regulation or technology. That movement is called the access frontier, that one as you go. And then you've got people that is beyond the reach of the market because they actually cannot afford it. And then you've got people who simply don't want to have your product. They will always be there. So you've got to take this logic. You cannot defy the market logic as you extend into insurance. So in terms of specific proposals, let's look at what is microinsurance, what is the definition, the product parameters. Let's look at potential people who will specialize in this market, and I'll say something shortly about why that is important. Let's look at microinsurance correspondence. I mean, Brazil is a fantastic innovator when it comes to using, for example, non-bank institutions as the deliverers of banking services. Brazil has the most ubiquitous payment system in the world. No other country, the only other country that is starting to approach what you have is Kenya. And it's simply because Kenya has the most sophisticated mobile payment system in the world today. It's used by most of their population already. But you've got something as good, if not better than that, which if you've got to collect small value premiums, is indispensable. So you've got a fantastic party going here, if I can put it that way. Look at your microinsurance brokers. Look at simplified contracting. And that wonderful thing, which we'll deal with now, look at a tax incentive. So we are suggesting, and let me put them all together, that you really look and throw your definition of what is microinsurance or popular insurance as wide as possible. Firstly, look at a generic category, which could include term life, credit life, incentive capitalization, retrenchment cover, unemployment insurance, personal accident, disability, extended warranties, random events, which is really your cash plans for medical, because you've got the separate regulator for medical schemes or medical plans, funeral included in that, and look, our recommendation would be to put your limits as high as possible, given the risks that you're trying to manage. And within that space, there is value in most countries for what we would refer to as commoditized insurance. The holy grail for commercial insurers is an insurance product which will sell passively, which people will buy off the shelf. And the only real way to do that is to define 2 or 3 products, which could be a funeral product, a life product, a personal accident product, which is absolutely standardized. It's like a can of Coke. It comes in the same packaging, it has the same weight, it tastes the same, it costs more or less the same. And to the extent that you actually want to push a public education campaign, focus it on that. And let these products at lower risk be sold by dedicated micro-insurers, popular insurers, whom you give reduced solvency or compliance requirements and some intermediation concessions. And then have the more complex products. VGBL has been fantastic for Brazil. It constitutes most of your life market. But there's a whole market down there which don't yet have the benefit of these products. And we should be reached. But these are more complex products which should be limited, we believe, to full insurers. In terms of your dedicated micro-insurers, as we said, limit them to lower risk products. Why are they important? Why are the small guys important? Big commercial organizations find innovation difficult. There are few exceptions. There are exceptions. They find it difficult because all big financial institutions are DNA wired to avoid risk. And the avoidance of risk is the enemy of innovation. So you will often find that the most innovative products are made by small guys, and once they succeed, they are bought out by the big guys. So for your industry, it is critical to have an incubation space where the small guys can be successful. Give them lower compliance requirements. SUSEP, and Alexandra is sitting here, they're quite conservative with solvency. Solvency 2 is not good for microinsurance. You need a type of standardized model or a partly internal plug-in model that can allow those guys to get away with lower capital, because they aren't as rich as the big guys. So give them that opportunity to go there. Then open up your intermediation space. Currently, you've got about 75,000, perhaps more now, personal brokers, about 35 more corporate brokers. In this environment, low-cost distribution, I mean, your predecessor in Giuseppe Armando Virgilio dos Santos always said, it's all about distribution, and that's true all over the world. Low-income insurance is about low-cost distribution. It's about competition, active sales. So you've got to open up the space as much as you can. You've got the banking correspondence. SUSEP can adopt regulations to allow them to sell some microinsurance products. The microinsurance correspondent can be a whole variety of people that aren't currently pooled in. The insurers here will know that if you want access today to a retail channel who owns the clients, you've got to put tens of millions of dollars on the table before they will talk to you, over and above the other expenses that you have got to pay. It's in your interest, it's in the industry's interest that the space is opened up. Bring those funeral homes in. Make them micro-insurance correspondents. Let them start to sell your products. Because from the anchor risk, you can add a micro-life policy. You can add a household insurance policy and go beyond that. And then you need active sales. Bring in those micro-insurance brokers that can sell the products, but who need some training. You've got good training projects. Many of the insurers are running it already. And look at the option of dedicated sales staff, direct sales staff, that need to come in as well. This is just a summary of what it could look like. If you've got your types of products there, you've got your different channels here, you've got your qualifications here, you can start looking at a matrix that will manage your risk, but at the same time allow you to blow open the space, to have the ideas coming out, so that everybody will, in the end, gain. You've got to simplify your transactions. Hard copy insurance policies don't work for low-income people. They're too expensive. You can do these things electronically today. You've got legislation on electronic signatures. You can look at M-payments, your mobile payments. Mobile payments industry in Brazil is very interesting because the mobile licenses were auctioned off by state, not nationally in Brazil. Therefore, it will take the mobile industry a long time to get national coverage to operate these systems because they tend to be proprietary. In other words, but it will come because that is the cheapest way of going. Currently, premiums are collected through banks, but there is a concession whereby premiums can be collected in cash. When you're going to work with funeraria as your microinsurance correspondents, it will be much cheaper to have that concession. When it comes to tax, The Brazilian government just don't like tax concessions. But you know, there is one area where I think everybody will gain. Currently, tax concessions on insurance products are attractive for people who pay income tax, which means that those sections of your nation which fall below the income tax bracket or threshold cannot benefit from these concessions. So granting these concessions to employers who pay on behalf of their employees will indeed bring more people, not all of them, but more people at least into an area where they can benefit and start saving, which I think is really a national objective. And it may be that the Internal Revenue Services will just gain more than they will sacrifice. Let me conclude. There's been a number of references today already to the microinsurance bill, which is before your Congress. And I would suggest that it would be a really big milestone for you as an industry if that bill, probably without most of the tax incentives in there, because they won't fly in the current political environment, but that bill be passed, because it will establish access to insurance really as a national priority in the current environment. It will create microinsurance as a composite class, which is really important for this market. You've got to be able to sell life and non-life in the same packet. It will establish dedicated microinsurers. It will create the microinsurance correspondent and establish it as a new insurance intermediary. You could get a tax concession for employers, and it will give SUSEPI a strong regulatory mandate. This is a small bill, but both for you as an industry and as a country, it could be a milestone with much bigger impact than most long bills which will be passed by your Congress. It's a privilege for us to work with you in this. We will, in the next 2 months, together with Funensec and discussions with SUSEPI and the industry, finalize the recommendations. But really, it is only a small support to an industry which is indeed extremely vibrant. And we salute you for that. Muito obrigado.
Gostaria de agradecer as nossas provocações aí do nosso palestrante, da análise que foi feita, do estudo que foi feito através da CNSEG. Eu queria lembrar aos senhores aqui, alguns podemos concordar, outros nem tanto, na visão de todas as pessoas, mas acho que é importante essa provocação, esse debate, ele é fundamental para que a gente possa viver aí uma transformação positiva no nosso mercado de seguros. Eu queria lembrar a todos, né, que nós temos a possibilidade, ao final do painel, de, se caso os senhores quiserem, formular perguntas onde pode ser endereçada aqui para a gente, para que possa ser encaminhada para os nossos palestrantes, né? Eu acho que um ponto importante, antes de nós passarmos a palavra aqui para o nosso Murilo, acho que nós vivemos aqui a nossa geração, já a geração dos cabelos brancos aqui, brasileiro, né? Nós passamos muitas fases que nós imaginamos que o Brasil não daria certo, ou que sempre acreditamos que o futuro poderia chegar, e nem sempre acreditamos que ele chegaria como nós estamos vivendo, no momento que nós estamos vivendo hoje. Então, era muito comum, né, que nós escutássemos fórmulas de outros países, principalmente aqueles mais desenvolvidos, crescimento, e não acreditávamos nas fórmulas brasileiras, ou atingir esse público que realmente não dão valor para, muitas vezes, coisas e itens que nós consideramos extremamente importantes. Lá vale muito mais o compromisso da empresa em pagar o seguro, que está garantido, e é a nossa visão, quando os tickets são baratos, do que o contrato que está sendo entregue naquele momento, porque aquilo realmente não tem a menor importância para ele. Não é isso que faz diferença para ele. O que faz diferença para ele realmente é o compromisso da empresa. E aquilo tudo, né, significa toda essa enormidade de documentos e a enormidade de papéis que nós entregamos, no final das contas, significa um aumento de custo, o que significa inviabilizarmos o produto que nós temos na última linha. Então, acho que esses pontos, e também quando nós olhamos essas pessoas, nós enxergamos que o que eles querem são aquilo que nós temos em termos de essência no mercado de seguros. O que eles querem? Eles querem saúde, e nós trabalhamos com saúde. Esse é um dos desejos que eles têm. Eles pensam em proteger e educar os filhos. A essência daquilo que nós fazemos e muitos dos produtos que temos na nossa prateleira estão relacionados a esse tipo de cobertura. Eles também pensam em termos de proteção financeira, de pensar em termos de futuro e ter uma proteção para os filhos e também para eles próprios. E todos nós temos produtos das nossas seguradoras que têm essa visão. Agora, eles têm dificuldade, muitas vezes, de comprar o nosso produto, por tudo aquilo que foi explicado aqui. Ele tem dificuldade de saber onde comprar e acha que é complicado e acha que é caro. Então, esses realmente são desafios que acho que nós, em conjunto, podemos trabalhar para mudar essa história em termos de Brasil e realmente oferecer produtos diferentes, mais simples, não só o produto, mas, acima de tudo, a contratação e a maneira de atuar. Mas, na minha visão, pessoal, acho que a primeira empresa que que enxergou essa oportunidade de falar diferente, de enxergar o consumidor de forma diferente nessa área de seguros, e teve a capacidade de enxergar nisso uma oportunidade, foi a Sinaf. E a Sinaf tem nome, é o Pedro Bucão. Então, acho que o Pedro Bucão tem muita coisa para passar para a gente em termos de enxergar essas oportunidades e os desafios para o mercado segurador. Pedro, por favor.
Obrigado, Rossi. Bom, já boa noite quase a todos. Hennie, muito obrigado pela apresentação, sempre brilhante. Mas eu queria só fazer, antes de fazer um comentário ao Hennie, eu queria, Murilo, eu não consigo resistir, eu preciso fazer um comentário sobre solvência. Eu, de forma alguma, estou aqui, ou em nenhum momento, defendo a anarquia regulatória, por favor. E evidentemente, que inclusive como acionista da minha empresa, eu sou o primeiro interessado que ela esteja sempre solvente. A prudência é sempre bem-vinda, mas a questão é que é calibragem, porque por excesso de prudência, o navio não sai do porto. E acho que o nosso desafio é precisamente fazer esse navio dos seguros navegar com a melhor eficiência, com a melhor velocidade possível, porque os desafios são grandes. Todo esse aparato regulatório do Solvência 2, que é muito interessante, não tem dúvida, é mais inteligente, é muito interessante, mas ele se baseia em algumas considerações, e uma delas é que o rápido crescimento é uma das principais razões de quebra da companhia. Isso faz todo sentido em mercados maduros, como o alemão, como o inglês, onde talvez uma companhia crescer 10% num ano seja um escândalo. No Brasil, com o potencial que nós temos para negócios de microseguros, seguros populares no Brasil, a minha companhia cresce mais de 20% ao ano há 15 anos e só está crescendo 20% porque eu estou com o freio de mão puxado, porque se eu soltar o freio de mão, ela vai para 35%, 40%. Quer dizer, então, a questão é discutir a calibragem adequada, porque acho que tem uma regra fundamental que nós precisamos pensar, que esse negócio só vai acontecer se seguro for um bom negócio. Quer dizer, seguro tem que ser um bom negócio, porque senão não adianta. Nós não vamos trazer novos capitais para poder desenvolver e fomentar. Então, o que eu brigo sempre, e aí com todo respeito aos amigos atuários, é que se a regra gera uma exigência que é demasiada, que é exagerada, que é desincentivadora para o investidor, então eu diria o seguinte: volta lá e refaz essa conta, porque não é isso que a gente precisa. A gente precisa, sim, da prudência, precisa da segurança, mas também precisa que o negócio possa ser um bom negócio, um negócio interessante para o acionista, porque só assim nós vamos ter a dinâmica empresarial, a dinâmica de inovação que nós precisamos. Então, acho que a discussão, na verdade, é só uma questão de... A discussão não é tão dura, é só uma questão de calibragem. Acho que você concorda comigo, né, Murilo? Hennie, obrigado pela apresentação, é sempre interessante, muito interessante. Eu começaria, Hennie, te pedindo, fazendo uma pergunta, aí eu vou começar com algumas considerações, porque como eu sou filho de advogado, eu começo com considerandas, não tem jeito. Mas então, considerando, Hennie, a sua paixão pelo assunto da inclusão, do seguro como ferramenta de inclusão financeira, considerando o tempo que você está dedicando a esse assunto, a paixão com que você lida com esse assunto, considerando que você já conhece tão bem o Brasil, que já está quase falando inglês com sotaque carioca, e aí eu te faria uma pergunta da qual eu pretendo extrair, Hennie, alguns objetivos que possam ficar claros para todos nós. É o seguinte, em 2025, quando você vier aqui novamente participar do Conseguro, o que você vai gostar de ver no nosso mercado? Quer dizer, quais são os fatores que você vai observar no nosso mercado que você irá perceber como demonstração de sucesso do que nós estamos discutindo hoje? Eu pergunto isso novamente porque eu quero tentar extrair da sua visão de futuro elementos que possam nos ajudar a entender o que de fato nós estamos discutindo hoje. Então, essa é a primeira pergunta.
Thank you, Pedro. I'll be a very enthusiastic karaoke, I think, if you allow me. 2025, that's 14 years from now, roughly speaking. I think what would really be for me a sign of success is if your market has been successful in developing products that C, D, and E want and are prepared to pay for and that deliver value to them. And generally speaking, when insurers, commercial insurers that worked in the upper income categories go down market, their first efforts are reduced versions of the products that they sold to their high income people. But as time progresses, the realization sets in that this market needs different products that are tailored to that particular market because their lives are different. So I think that the first sign of success would be products that truly meet that need and that speak to the critical risks that are important to them. If you speak to Brazil, I mean, it's health. Health risks are critical here. It's life issues. It's education. I mean, those are big issues here. So you know, if you develop those products and you are able to sell them at really low cost through a multiplicity of channels, I think that would be success. And if you have a rich diversity of providers that can do that. But I'll go one step further. What you do in the microinsurance market will change what you do in your normal market. Because no insurer will turn his face from cost-cutting measures that could also improve his bottom line with his conventional clients. So what you're going to do in this market will change the way you operate with all your clients. So effectively, 14 years is long enough to see the entire market change. And I think the way you market your products, particularly through new technologies, I think will be very different. But I think there's a last element that I would hope to see, and that is that in the lowest end of the market, Brazil has the single most successful cash transfer system on the globe. And it's very interesting that the consciousness of insurance and the culture of insurance very often grows when people are forced to take a product. It's like, you know, my mother forced me to take castor oil, which is a terrible medicine. But you have to acknowledge after 2 days that it was good for you. And I think you've got a similar opportunity with Bolsa Familia. That there is some form of cover that is really valued by that market, which is partly subsidized by the state, even made compulsory, but where the commercial insurers take the responsibility to deliver value on that product. To distribute it cheaply, the state contribute their side, but the insurers who distribute them also bring good distribution and sound claims payment to that market. And then you will develop a culture from the bottom up. And I think that's a real opportunity you have. I mean, it's interesting to me, if you look at the actual Bolsa Familia payments, I mean, the highest one is, what, 242 reais per month. That's not a lot of money. Brazil is an expensive country. I mean, as Shakespeare said, that's enough to keep base life afoot. You can't deal with the risks. If insurance can demonstrate to those households that they have value to deal with these risks, you're really building the future in a big way. But that will require both the government and commercial insurers to come to the party. And if that can be done within the next 2 to 3 years, 14 years from now, you're going to have a very different culture in this country around insurance. And I think that's exciting. So, I mean, if this works, it will transform all levels of insurance, simply because you will be driving lower cost, better service delivery to your clients.
Mais uma roça, por favor. Hennie, você já colocou hoje aqui muito bem a questão da distribuição como um fator crítico para que o microseguro possa acontecer. Mas você também colocou muito bem a questão de como o mercado ele se desenvolve estendendo a fronteira. O mercado não pode atuar como um canguru, né, que está na classe A e B e dar um salto para atender a classe D. Então, se você quer, eu entendo que se o mercado quer servir bem a família de R$1.000 de renda, ele vai ter que atender a família de 5.000, de 4.000, de 3.000, de 2.000, até chegar nas de 1.000. Esse é o processo de desenvolvimento do mercado. Eu, inclusive, a minha companhia está lá nos R$1.000, R$1.200. Mas eu entendo que se distribuição é um fator crítico, e se o processo de desenvolvimento ele deve ser nesse processo de inundação do mercado, de cima para baixo, estendendo a fronteira, então me parece que nós devemos tentar encontrar soluções que tragam a questão, flexibilizem o processo de distribuição do mercado de seguros como um todo, na verdade, e não apenas do microseguro, até porque aí esbarra num outro risco que eu venho sempre temendo, que é a questão da definição do que é um microseguro. Eu já vi, por exemplo, as pessoas entenderem, microseguro deve ser um funeral com mais 6 salários mínimos. Aí eu penso numa família cliente minha, em que a renda familiar é R$1.200, R$1.400, em que se aquele pai de família eventualmente falece, aí eu pergunto, será que o melhor que a nossa indústria pode fazer para essa família é prover o funeral e mais 6 salários mínimos? Eu acho uma vergonha isso. Eu acho que nós podemos fazer muito mais do que isso para essa família. Então, essa questão da definição do microseguro e, eventualmente, de uma solução de distribuição que seja só para um produto, eventualmente limitado, muito baixo, não seria coerente com uma estratégia em que o mercado deve se desenvolver como um todo. Concorda?
Well, I think just to add to that, when you start to open up your market, conventional brokers with the level of qualifications and training that they must have is simply too expensive for this market. So you need to work with what you could describe a proxy sales force. In other words, employees who earn most of their income from doing something else, onto which you can add insurance. That's an opening up of the market. The difficulty with that model is that you will then tend to sell insurance that fits within the language, the environment of what they do in their normal day work. And that's not necessarily going to serve either the client or the insurer. So you need to go beyond that and find eventually people that can sell, let me call it in a more free way, but with lower requirements. And that's where I think the microinsurance broker becomes a very good solution. Somebody who has adequate training and that is actually able to sell quite a lot of small value policies to be able to earn an income to live with. But it's very difficult. I mean, every country is different. And the one thing you don't want to say is you cannot pick a winner right now. Because somebody in the market may innovate which completely takes the market by storm. I mean, mobile technology in my own country, we are now selling insurance over mobile phones. And it's a dramatic change in how things are happening. So that's why I say you've got to be as agnostic as possible. The point being that you want to increase the pie. There's going to be a lot more clients, so there's a lot more for everybody to be had out of this. And that's why I think it's possible to afford it. But in the end, you've got to keep some measure of control over the communication between the person who sells and the client to make sure that there is an adequate level of protection there. So you mustn't escape that.
Bom, é que
só uma. Hennie, a certificação poderia ser uma solução para isso?
So surely you can do that. I mean, if you have salespeople that are accredited to do what they're doing, I mean, that's a standard professional service. I think that's definitely a solution in this way. And you've got, I mean, telephone sales is big in Brazil. Affinity sales is big. I mean, some brokers are very innovative in how they're doing this. So making sure that the salespersons are certified to do what they have to do. Because otherwise they can do a lot of damage to the insurers. And one of my concerns about your industry is that the balance of power between the insurer and the intermediary is tilted too far to the mass intermediary. And that leaves the insurer vulnerable. So one of the things we're looking in the regulatory space is to say other countries had to regulate around this to make sure that that balance of power is adequate. But that's one of the issues you've got to be careful about.
Bem, senhores, nós estamos assim com o horário, agradecer aqui a presença de todos, mas nós temos aqui uma última, uma pergunta, na verdade, que nós vamos caminhar aqui para o Murilo. Murilo, quem fez foi o Roberto Westenberg da Price, que ele comenta que na discussão de que a regra de capital preconizada por Solvência 2 penaliza as seguradoras, deve ser dito que isto ocorre somente no Brasil. Pelo fato que a SUSEP não permite que o capital seja fixado a partir de modelos internos, diferentemente daquilo que ocorre na prática, principalmente na Europa. Não seria o caso de se rever esta legislação? Aí eu acho que é um questionamento conjunto aqui, eu não sei como é que vocês podem debater. Isso aqui é para encerrar o dia, né? Não, entendeu? Para encerrar o dia.
Este corpo não me pertence mais.
Não sei se o Alexandre, vem cá. Aqui, ó, vem cá.
Pode sentar aqui?
Pode.
Para vocês verem só, eu não estava no tema, não estava
na...
Mas, não, imagina. A questão é a seguinte, eu acho que a gente considera isso, eu acho isso importante, mas a gente entende também, quer dizer, a gente tem experiência, inclusive, de algumas empresas que têm modelo interno e a gente tem essa informação, e esses modelos têm gerado valores até superiores aos que o modelo que a SUSEP trabalha. Claro que para você examinar e aceitar modelos internos, é necessário que você acompanhe e verifique que tipo de modelo, ou seja, o mercado está maduro já para trabalhar com modelos internos, para desenvolver, ou é uma cultura que a gente está criando agora, e tentando estimular, porque eu acho assim, nas reuniões técnicas, a gente estimula isso, a criação de modelos. Eu vi que se falou muito em solvência, eu fiquei quieto lá no meu canto, eu acho que eu já discuti muito isso com o Pedro, eu acho que isso é interessante, a colocação dele. No que diz respeito a requerimento de capital vindo aí do Solvência 2, O que o Murilo colocou faz todo sentido. Se a gente parar e pensar, poxa, o risco de crédito de uma empresa é mesmo, é o risco da contraparte. Então, assim, se o Pedro tem um ativo na carteira, o Rossi tem um ativo na carteira, esses ativos, por serem similares, têm o mesmo risco. Agora, claro, o que o Pedro quis colocar, e talvez o Murilo só não tenha sido mais pontual nesse aspecto, é em relação ao risco de subscrição. De fato, a partir do momento que você tem capitais menores, ainda que no mesmo volume quantitativo, né? no volume macro de uma empresa grande, você poderia ter um diferencial por isso. Mas hoje é um outro trabalho que a SUSEP também tem feito no sentido de estimular as bases estatísticas das sociedades para que nós possamos proporcionar isso, né? Quando dar condição da SUSEP poder trabalhar e ter vamos dizer assim, esse estabelecimento de regras diferenciadas do capital de subscrição por tamanho de empresa e por tamanho de operação. Né? Eu não sei se eu peguei tudo. Eu não sei se eu respondi tudo, se ficou faltando alguma coisa.
Não, acho que Murilo quer...
Desculpa a intromissão.
É um prazer tê-lo aqui. Bom, gente, eu, na verdade, agradecer ao Alexandre, todo o nosso palestrante, dos debatedores aqui pela presença de todos os senhores, também o público aqui presente aqui, até esse horário, mas nós entendemos que os vascaínos e torcedores do Curitiba estão tensos, que daqui a pouco entra em campo, e nós precisamos, na verdade, terminar o nosso painel, agradecendo realmente a presença de todos os senhores aqui. Muito obrigado. Amanhã nós reiniciamos os trabalhos e muito obrigado pela atenção de todos.